That's a like, I don't know. It's so easy when you work on the floors to just throw the blame on the ER. So I'm just going to say that, right? Like right off the bat, it's super, super, super easy to just be like, oh, God damn it. These ER nurses, number one, they just throw everybody up on the floors. And number two, they do no documentation, which we will get back to. Which we will get back to in a hot second, right? But before I did cut you off, and you just mentioned the suicide, and that's a huge key, right? That's humongous. And I like the fact that more people are talking about mental illness, but I don't see the money coming in for mental illness, but I do see the conversation happening a lot more often, which makes me very happy, right? But I want to talk about mental illness from a different perspective, from the nurse's perspective, right? A lot. I don't know if you know of Silent No More. Have you heard of Silent No More?
Yeah.
Yes. So, and when you look at the statistics for nurses that get physically abused, verbally abused, any kind of workplace violence, it is insane when you compare the numbers of, if you're a regular nurse, like if you're working on the floor, it happens this percentage of the time. But when you look at ER nurses, it is sky high. So just, I want to talk about that situation because it's so scary. Like, I am afraid to go into an elderly patient's room that has dementia or something, that is confused and they're swinging. And I'm talking about like an 80, 90-year-old person. But in the ER, you guys are dealing with the alcoholics. You guys are dealing with the violence of literally people coming in with stab wounds, gunshot wounds. You're dealing with everybody, right? And then you also have to think about the mental illness and then the physical and the verbal abuse. So I'm just going to open the floor and I want you to take this to wherever you want to take it. But how are you guys in the ER dealing with trying to protect yourself and at the same time trying to help these patients that can be violent physically or verbally?
Yeah. Wow. That's a really, really good lead up. So, in my particular emergency room, we're super lucky because we have sworn out sheriffs in our, like, real sheriffs. They are not rent-a-cops. They are not security guards. They have real guns with real bullets. And we have 2 of them in our department all the time. We have 8 of them in the hospital. And of those 8, 2 are in our department all the time. Our department is huge. And so they can't be everywhere all the time, but they are constantly rounding. We are not supposed to approach the psych patients without them. They do wand our patients when they initially come in. So that's a measure there. There are a lot of things that you can do to kind of keep a heads up, keep your head on a swivel, always be suspicious. But it is very frustrating when some of the nursing organizations say, we have a 0 tolerance policy. We are not going to accept any violence against any nurse. And I love and appreciate the idea behind that. The reality behind that is just like you said, you've got a sweet little 80-year-old dementia patient who doesn't mean anything by it, but snatches you up and claws you.
Of course.
There's no way to ever prevent that kind of thing. Another thing that ER nurses go through that I don't think most nurses go through, I think psych nurses do, but we have to go through a program called CPI. And it is literally a self-defense program. And so wow. I remember as a new grad going to this program. It was held in like a big area, almost like a gym. And they are actually teaching me how to defend myself if a patient grabs my ponytail, or if they grab me by my neck, or if they try to bite me. Like, and I remember having this real talk moment with myself, like, what am I doing right now? Like, they are teaching me how to get out of a chokehold because of the place that I'm going to work. Is this crazy? Is this real life?
That is a scary thing yes.
Yeah, and it's the reality of the emergency room. So we definitely have to keep our head on a swivel. We definitely see people in their acute phases where we are trying to get them stabilized so that we can then send them to you. That doesn't guarantee that they're going to be nice to you either, but we do see them in the acute phases. The other thing that you mentioned is we do see a lot of violence. Yes. And so we see the gunshot wounds and the stab wounds. We see the domestic violence. And then sometimes when the job is not finished, someone wants to come and try to finish the job. And so you have to be very, very careful in those situations too. And, we had a mass casualty one time in my department where one of the 15-passenger vans full of prisoners that was going to do like a work detail, they wrecked on the interstate. And so they brought 15 prisoners into our department as patients. And so you've got flight risks, and you've got patients who are all no press, no info, and you've got shackles, and you've got backboards, and it's just pandemonium, and we love it. We love it. But it is a really, in fact, I haven't even, my co-host and I recorded an episode on violence in the ER, and we tabled it because I didn't even feel like we could do justice to it. Like, I don't know the answer. I don't know what to say. I don't think there's ever going to be a time when we have zero violence against any nurse, but especially ER nurses who are kind of the front line where the patients are acutely psychotic or acutely in pain or acutely intoxicated. And so we just kind of sat it there because it just didn't feel like it was giving the respect or the gravity or the answers that we're all looking for. So, yeah, it is definitely something that happens down there.
And that's one thing I know it's ER Nurses Week, and that's one thing I have to just clap it up for all ER nurses, because you guys really take that first punch in the face. Like, you guys have to first decide, I mean, if the patient is violent, right, or if the family member is violent or whatever, you guys are the initial, like, all right, pause, let's see what happens, and then you send them up to a psych floor or whatever floor they need to go to. But that's one thing you have to, like, as all nurses, we have to just be like, ER, you guys get that. You guys have that. That's on you. You guys are the superheroes in that forte.